Hello, folks. My name's Jurec. I work with CultureShoc, and we help entrepreneurial-minded companies grow courageous leaders that ultimately impact healthier cultures. My hope with this video is that each of you come out of this acting a little bit more like a buffalo. I'm going to share 3 acronyms because I think those help simplify and to retain things that we hear. I'm going to ask you 3 questions at the end of this that'll hopefully prompt some action. So grab a pen and paper, take a couple notes, and give yourself 5 or 10 minutes after watching this video to make it your own. The first acronym's on the wall behind me, ITS, or ITS. Buffalo respond differently to a storm than any other creature. They don't stand still. They don't turn around and try to outrun it. Instead, they turn towards that storm and they charge into and through it, knowing that they'll reach a better outcome faster, or in their case, sunny skies. For us as humans, what a metaphor, because we encounter these storms on a daily basis that if we do stand in place, if we do turn and run, try to avoid these things, they don't go away. It seems like they chase us and become bigger and bigger issues over time. Or we procrastinate and find ourselves thinking, wasn't nearly as big of an issue as I'd built it up to be in my head. So I challenge you to start looking at things in terms of storms. What are you avoiding? What does your body tell you is right? Is it an uncomfortable conversation with somebody? Is it committing to a change in your habits? Is it advocating for yourself or asking better questions? So that way you can demonstrate curiosity instead of judgment and create more trust in your relationships. The list goes on, but I'm positive there's storms that you're dealing with on a daily basis, and if you're charging into them, hats off to you. One of those might be in the second acronym here, which is T. Are you spilling your tea, or are you putting it in the right places? T stands for time, energy, and attention. Now, you can put your time into something, but not be present and have your attention on other things. So I like to separate these 3. We have a finite amount of time. We have to be really selective about where it's going, and we find ourselves so often in autopilot, failing to pause and recognize where we're putting our time, energy, and attention. Often it's in areas that it's not going to serve us. That couples with this last acronym, which is EARTH. EARTH stands for effort, attitude, reaction, thoughts, and habits. These are all in your control. Nobody else can control our earth. And that said, we can't control anyone else's either. We so often misallocate tea or maybe spill it all over the ground because we're putting so much time, energy, and attention into controlling somebody else's effort, into controlling their attitude or how they react and respond to things, maybe even into their thoughts and habits. What I can promise you is this: it's not yours to control. If you can recognize this is going to serve me or this is not, and wake up every day remembering, in this day, I get to choose the effort that I put into each and everything. Could be into a relationship, into building trust with somebody, into doing uncomfortable things. I choose my attitude, how I show up. And if I'm aware enough to recognize that it's contagious, when my attitude is down here, it rubs off on others around me. But if I focus on positives, I'm realistic, but also charging forward, that's contagious as well. The R stands for reaction. And that's right. I know this one can be tough, but it is important and goes a really long way if we can just remember that this is in our control, how we react to each different situation, each conversation that we have, even if somebody else isn't doing a great job of controlling theirs. The T is for thoughts. It may feel like these get the best of us or are totally out of our control sometimes, but again, if we recognize whether things serve us or don't, we choose what we allow to take space in our minds. And if you can recognize that, you're going to focus your thoughts on things that do actually benefit you and are in line with what you want to achieve. And the last and probably the hardest is we do control our habits. We cannot control somebody else's. We can motivate, we can understand what somebody needs and maybe influence or inspire them, but we have to focus solely on our habits that we create? What do we do with consistency? I would challenge all of you to think for a moment now. Are there storms that you've been avoiding? Are there some things that by dealing with, you're going to get to a better outcome faster? And if by ignoring, they're not going to go away, they're just going to get bigger and bigger. What are those storms? Are you misallocating your tea? Putting time, energy, and attention into somewhere that it simply doesn't serve you? Where should you be putting that tea instead? And last, how good of a job are you doing at controlling your earth? Are you trying to control somebody else's? Folks, again, I'm Joe at CultureShoc. You can hear more from me and my team here and all the entrepreneurial leaders at companies that we have the pleasure of working with on the Into the Storm Leaders podcast. Check out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts.